What's going on, beautiful people? Thank you for returning back to my channel, The Root Wave. In this episode, I have the Bronx Brand. Please say hello, sir. Let us know where we can find you, please.
Hey, so my name is Mike. You can find me at the Bronx Brand on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being on the channel. I've been part of the Bronx for most of my life. I think I came here when I was like 2. It's something very dear and near to my heart, just because there's something very unique about our borough. But when I started getting on Instagram heavy, I noticed your brand, and I was like, wow, this is crazy stuff. Then I used to watch Deezus and Mero when they were on Vice, and then I started seeing your stuff there, and I was like, yo, I don't know, that was just, it made me proud and happy, you know what I mean? And then once I started doing this project where I interview people so that way we can inspire others, I thought I would love to reach out to you so that way people like me who are from the Bronx are just watching this and being like, yo, if he can do it and he seems like a well-rounded dude, I'm a well-rounded person, I can do the same thing. So I really appreciate you being on the channel.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, your stuff is amazing. Let's start off with what inspired you to do what you do.
So when we look at the Bronx, right, we look at there's been a negative connotation with it because of what happened in the 70s with the Bronx is burning, white flight, all this stuff. But at the same time, in that same time period, you have hip hop, the birth of hip hop. And hip hop is now global pop culture. And on top of that, you have so many incredible people who have shaped and shifted culture. You have Ralph Lauren with fashion, Calvin Klein as well, Swizz Beatz music, Big Pun, Jennifer Lopez is from the Bronx, Chaz Palminteri, Sonia Sotomayor, Supreme Court Justice, Al Pacino, like the list goes on, Stanley Kubrick, like the list goes on and on. And I don't see it as a coincidence. So I feel like because of kind of like, there's like this, not just creative energy, but like the conditions that you grew up in here kind of build you up to be great. And I feel like because those people have shaped and shifted culture in the past, the Bronx will continue to do that. Like we see that now. We see that now with Cardi B, with A Boogie. We've got a couple other people that are coming up in the Bronx, like Chris Rivers, who's Big Pun's son, Denzel Porter, Josh DWH. All these people who are, beginning to kind of show, well, not show, but remind people that the Bronx is at the forefront of culture and is really moving culture. And so I feel like the Bronx is the mecca of culture. So that's really what motivated me to start the Bronx Brand, is that, man, if these people from the past and are continuing to shape culture, how can we do that for the people who are up and coming? Who in 20, 30 years will be those same people, Mm-hmm. So, and people that I admire, that inspire me, how can we help them, catapult to continue to be great?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and that was a great explanation. I really appreciate that, because we really do have like some type of formula that's happening in this borough for a long time that hasn't been I want to say hasn't been able to be bottled up like other things have been, maybe other boroughs or other cultures. But tell me, how did you get started in regards to getting your stuff out there?
So the first thing we did was we started with starting a website, right? So this isn't my first like attempt at creating like a clothing brand, so I kind of knew like where to go and how to start there. And then what I wanted to do was kind of find a way to create things for people without necessarily having to do it myself. Because when I was first starting off, like I was screen printing things, I was kind of trying to find manufacturers, all these different people to make it for me. That's a lot of upfront cost. So at first, what we used was a fulfillment company to kind of help us get going, and to be able to show people that we can make things for them, right? Because I knew that eventually what we would do is we'd be able to get the equipment to make it for people, right? So what we did was we had partnered up with a fulfillment company who would then make and ship the shirts to the customers, right? So we didn't have to make them at first. The good thing is that you don't have the upfront cost. The bad thing is that you take a larger cut of the profit. So, it took us 6 months to even make our first sale, and even then we didn't, make a lot from it. but that's how the game goes. That's how it works. So from there, it was just a matter of, okay, let me go to the people I know, the people I don't know, the people that I want to work with, and kind of show them like what we're doing, what we're capable of, and where we want to take this. And then from just going to different events, working with different people, just networking, we started building up a little notoriety. People started to be aware of us, on Instagram, stuff like that. And then, yeah, just started buying equipment to try to make stuff in house. Now we're about 85% of the stuff we make here in the Bronx. And yeah, that's just really it. Just like trying to market and gain awareness, and then be able to kind of fulfill those orders on the back.
No, yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys planned it out, and a big part of what I try to do with this series is just try to show people what the steps are, because a lot of times you look at it and you're like, it's nothing complicated. It's just putting the right pieces together and then executing it, which happens to be a whole task in itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you pick the designs that you actually release? Because
So
some of them are
all of the
like awesome. They're very like you would think that it's once you release it, you're like, damn, I should have thought of that. That was obvious, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How do you come up with that?
So for a lot of the stuff, it's just stuff that's around us. Like for a while before we launched, I was just like, man. In general, I was seeing a lot of X's, just a lot of people using X's on their stuff, just in general. And it wasn't even just Bronx stuff. It was just like in general, like there's a lot of just X X X X stuff on people. I'm like, man, like how do we deal with actual hands, because that is the symbol of the Bronx, really. So then my wife and I, we were just like, I have pictures on my computer with me, like trying to like put it up, and then we were gonna try to draw it from there. So then we finally got it correct. So that's one of the things, right? We have the coffee cup, which is classic New York City. Like it's hard to find now, but if you go to certain bodegas, you can find like that classic coffee cup. The Bronx breakfast. That was a design that we were thinking of, but then somebody actually came to us with the design. I was like, oh, perfect. Like I had no way to wrap my head around making it, but then Louis Perez, he came to us. He already had a design done, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So we brought him onto the platform. So now we're making that for him. He's one of the artists we collaborate with. We've also got the Bronx wood, the kind of logo flip. We don't do too many logo flips because sometimes they're I don't like to do them too much, but this one, which is a no brainer, like the backwoods logo flip with Bronx wood, like that's just perfect. What else? We've also got like the pigeon and pizza. My boy Johnny, who did that. Pigeon is classic New York City. I love staple, so I want to do something that was like not necessarily staple, but like staple s with the pigeon, and then the pizza. Obviously classic New York City. So we take everything that's just around us, and things that would relate to people the most. 'Cause I feel like when it comes to uh, artists and making your artistry a business, you've got a little bit of a dichotomy. And what I mean is, when you're an artist, you want to create things, right? You just want to create from the heart, create what's meaningful to you. Now, when you're trying to turn into a business, you can't just think about it for what it means for you. You think about it, what's going to relate to the market, what's going to relate to your customers. So what we've been fortunate enough was these things that relate to us also relate to other people. Like these are things that we want to create that are meaningful to us, and people can relate to it as well. So we've hit a really good stride with that. And yeah, so that's really the key. The key is to make things that are meaningful to you and things that are meaningful to other people. So that's how we always go into it when it comes to the Bronx.
Right. Now, tell me what has been the toughest part of this process for you,
So
or some of the toughest parts, because it's usually never just one thing.
yeah, definitely. So the first thing is always awareness, right? Because it doesn't matter what you can think your stuff is dope, but if people don't know you, it doesn't matter. Like nobody's gonna buy, nobody's gonna be real. So I think the first thing is always awareness. So that's marketing. Just trying to like get our name out there, trying to get people aware of not just the brand, but what we're actually doing behind the scenes. Because there's some this little confusion. Like we don't just do apparel. Apparel is our biggest thing. That's what I personally like am drawn to. I used to collect sneakers. I used to like do all this stuff as far as like fashion. But the the other side of it is we're also trying to create this platform for artists, where it's also a magazine, where we're also paying people through our collaborations, through their contributions, doing things for them as well. So trying to communicate, hey, here's the brand. Oh, and here's what we're also doing on top of that. So communicating that, and then the other side of it is just trying to continue to generate those funds to do more. To continue to bring that awareness and continue to bring new things to people. Those are always the two biggest things.
Yeah. And now tell me on the opposite side, what have been some of the best moments for you?
Man, one one of the big Diaz and Mero. That's probably very much like top five.
Yeah.
Having them wear our stuff is incredible, especially because I was watching them when they're on YouTube with Diaz versus Mero on Complex, right? And then listening to Big Boys podcast, and then one day I was like, you know what? Let me go to 220 West 18th Street when they were at Red Bull Studios, and I was like, if they're there and I could give this to them, maybe they'll wear it, right? And I was like, maybe they could shout me out on the podcast. That's all I wanted. Like maybe you could like shout me out on the podcast, because at first they were getting mail to Red Bull, and they were like, no, don't send us any more mail. So I was like, oh man, let me just go there and maybe give it to them, right? And then it was like maybe 2 weeks later that they got the Vice Stand show, and I was like, oh man, I gotta just continue to send them stuff, and hopefully they'll wear it. So then when they started to wear it, it was just like genuine love, because I was like, hey, like there was no notes attached to it, like, hey, can you wear this here? Can you do this? Or paying them to be like, hey, here's like, whatever to wear it. Like they just genuinely loved the brand and they were wearing this. So I think that was like absolutely incredible. One of my favorite artists, the graffiti artist, is Crash. He's one of the first artists to put graffiti as a canvas. And being able to collaborate with him is probably one of the biggest like victories for us, because he's just so iconic. Like I feel like in the Bronx we take it for granted, because it's like, hey, that's Crash, like we know him, right? But when you go to other cities, like I've seen people like fawn over him, like, oh, like this is Crash, like so. Being able to work with him was just like incredible. Like I would watch on YouTube. There's a documentary, Star Wars, that he's in, a couple other like incredible graffiti artists, and yeah, being able to work with him is also big. And yeah, one of the other guys that we work with, Denzel Porter, like I was listening to his music and then being able to work with him, Josh BH. We got an interview with Chris Rivers, who's also, it's like we're starting to do things where we're building a following, but then also being able to work with our like actual people that I love, And I think that's probably the biggest victory for me, like being able to work with people that I genuinely appreciate and I want their success, and they're collaborating with us because they want the same thing. Like it's just beautiful.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can tell. I mean, everyone's doing a little bit of what you're doing, I guess, right? I mean, I'm even doing it. This is my hat right here, and I love it. And I put a lot of, a little bit of like details and stuff about myself. But I think one thing for me was always like, hey, I want to make sure that I have a little bit of quality going on, like that kind of being the priority of it, because I felt that regardless of whether it goes anywhere or not, I can say like, hey, I did that with love, enough creativity, and some type of quality. And I feel like with your stuff, you just feel that, you know what I mean? It's not like just everyone who's slapping shit on a shirt and then just trying to hustle it.
And that was the one thing that we definitely didn't want to go to, because I feel like when it comes to fashion, it's pretty easy. There's low barriers to entry, right? It's very easy to come up with a logo, come up with a design, come up with a concept, and then get it printed on T-shirts, and then printed on on hoodies and hats, stuff like that, right? Um, so in that sense, you're pretty much competing with everybody. Like I'm competing with the restaurants that have T-shirts for sale. Like anybody that can print something and make put on a T-shirt, you're kind of competing with. So our thing was we want to make sure that we're not just doing T-shirts and we're not just doing I don't want to say bare minimum, but we want to always elevate what we're doing. Like we don't want to use hard tees. We want to use soft tees that people want to like. You want to wear this stuff. Things that I want to wear. Things that an embroidered touch. Not just a screen print. For certain things. So it's always trying to make that extra effort in order to have the customer really feel like, man, like this doesn't just represent where I'm from, but this is also something that I can stand behind because this is the same type of quality and the same type of effort that I put into things that I do. Like
Mhm.
that. Your the the things you wear, your fashion is kind of a representation of yourself. So what you put on, and you're kind of showing the world like this is who I am. And if you're putting on quality things, then that's like who you are. I think that's also like the cachet behind some luxury brands, right? If I
Mhm.
put types of things, that's kind of like indicative of who I am. So if if we're gonna go into this, we don't just want to make stuff just to get it out there, just to sell things. We want to have pieces that people really appreciate.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I see it myself now that I'm like involved in a lot of this stuff and interviewing people like you. I'm like, yo, it's a beautiful process that people do
Yeah.
not see. They don't get to experience, and they you make it look easy, and then they're like, I could do the same, and it never works out. It takes a big skill and vision to be able to execute what you're doing. So it's pretty dope. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's in the future, what's happening currently, what are you up to, what should we look out for, how do we support you, and all that good stuff, please.
So right now, what we're trying to do is we're continuing to build up on the piece that we have, right? So in the future, what we're doing now is we want to get some equipment in order to kind of elevate what we're doing, right? Like right now, we don't have an embroidery machine. I have a screen printer and a vinyl printer. Like I can't do as much as I would like. And if I'm able to get this equipment, then we can do a lot more. Like I want to do some varsity jackets. I'm going to do a little bit, go into that realm. I want to do some more women's wear. Just trying to really cater to more people as far as the apparel side. So we have our crowdfunding right now. If you go to our website at the Bronx Brand .com, you can support it, and that helps us towards that goal of getting those pieces of equipment. On the other side, what we're doing is our big focus right now is trying to build content, right? Because I feel like with apparel, we got a little bit of a handle on it. We get this equipment, things are we got a good model with that right now. So what we want to do is we want to build more content. So we've got the podcast, one podcast right now, but we want to do more podcasts. We want to turn our online magazine into a podcast. We want to turn our online magazine into a print magazine. That'll be quarterly, things like that. We want to do more web series. We have the Hood Gourmet show, but we want to do more shows. So right now that's our big push, like trying to create more content, trying to collaborate with more people, trying to just build that out so that we kind of be like a stepping stone for people. Like I feel like um, if you're an upcoming artist, you don't get any looks from the big like Hot 97 or Power 105 or any of the big places until you get to a certain level. We want to be at a point where we can kind of propel you to that step. And I think that like creating content around what we're doing and building out those series of podcasts, the magazine stuff like that, that's going to help kind of get people exposure in that way. And of course, like we our thing is like I don't like for the artists and the creators that we collaborate with just to be like, hey, here's a good look for you. Like if you work with us, thanks for your contribution. We send you an Instagram post. We shout you out. Like that's it. Like we actually pay people. So like all the support that we get is being reinvested back into the community because we're only working with Bronx creators, people who are from here.
Right.
And the definition of being from here is you have to have lived in the Bronx for at least 10 years. You have to have, been born here, but you got to be at least in it for 10 years because 5 years, like 5 years is like you could have been here for college.
You got to do a bit here, yeah.
You gotta really be in it. You had to have like taken the subway. You had to have like the bus come in front of you and slash like snow on you. Like we're really checking to make sure people are really from here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I mean, it's just all awesome. I, it's weird because I went from a time where even though I was here, I had like bouts with it. Maybe because of all the having to defend it all the time. Then then I then I ended up leaving for like a few years, not too far away, about an hour away. Then I moved back again. I've been here for a while again, and then I'm prouder than ever just because of the movements, everything that's happening, everything that's on social media. Like you said, what's in the mainstream, it seems so organic and seamless compared to everything else that's out there. It's pretty
Yeah,
dope. It's just pretty dope, and there's just a lot of inspiration. We're in a hell of a time that I'm just like, yo, this is just dope. What you're doing is amazing. I'm trying to do the same thing with like consulting and trying to help people. I come from a business background, so I'm able to help people with certain things. I also happen to be creative, so I'm trying to put something together where not only it'll boost what I want to do, but also what I want to do consists of helping others. And I feel like a lot of what you're doing and a lot of what a lot of people are doing here in the Bronx is very similar in the sense of, hey, I'm doing something awesome, but there's enough for all of us.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And I feel like that's to me. I almost felt like that was the piece that was missing here in this borough for a long time.
Yeah,
And I feel like this is just the beginning. Like we're just baby steps right now. We're in diapers still.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like for where in particular where we're trying to take it. Like we're a couple years into 100 year like company. Like
Right.
this is like this is definitely a marathon. I feel like in 20 years that we're going to be like scratching the surface of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think people when we were starting, um, I got a couple of questions from people like, why would you just limit it to the Bronx? Like why wouldn't you kind of expand it? Why wouldn't you just do a general kind of brand? Like why would you be specific? And I think people underestimate how big and how vast the Bronx is. Like,
Right.
right, if you were to divide the boroughs of New York City, the Bronx would be in the top 10 cities in the U.S. Um, there's 1.5 million people here. The city's growing, and I feel like on top of all the people that are from here but have moved away,
Hmm.
like there's so much out there. There's
Oh, you run into Bronx people all the time. I was in Atlanta last year, and I ran into like I was eating tacos, and people. I had like a Bronx hat on, and they were like, "Yo!" And I was like, we started drinking and everything, and I was like, "Yo, it happens all the time."
Yeah. So I feel like like even though it may seemingly in comparison to the rest of New York, like this borough is big and it's so influential like on the low, and I think people are just beginning to wake up as to like what the Bronx is and what the Bronx has done and what the Bronx will continue to do.
Yeah. No, you're right. Well, Mike, I really appreciate you being on the channel. This is awesome. It was something that I think when I first started, I might have even sent you a message and be like, yo, I want to interview you because I was just starting. But I also knew that one day I would want you here because I want, as a person, you want to elevate yourself and carry yourself and work with people who are of quality and some type of high standard. And I feel like, and also humble. So, you fit all that criteria. And I'm like, yo, I have to work with this gentleman and we have to do something one day. And then we're here. So this is pretty awesome. And I appreciate that. I appreciate what you're doing for the culture, for the borough, for the gram, because even your stuff on the gram is dope. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate that. Hey, if you ever need some extra team members, I'm down. Like I'm offering my time lately. I know that I offer quality too. So instead of spending advertising dollars, I'd rather just give my people my time, which also speaks for itself and is valuable. You know what I'm saying? So if you ever need any assistance or any type of whatever, please feel free to reach out. But
Yeah,
before we leave, I usually ask my guests to leave us or send us off with some type of motivational send off that will just kind of inspire somebody. Maybe somebody's watching this in the Bronx and is like, yo, I'm gonna get off the couch right now. I'm gonna go do something, or I'm gonna put my phone down and start designing something, or whatever it is that they can do and want to dream of. Please, if you would like, please.
yeah. So there was this really dope T-shirt that I saw. It was probably 2 years ago, and it says "Success happens overnight." And I was like, man, this. That was one of those designs. I was like, dang, I wish I would have thought of that. But it's like so perfect because I feel like the overnight success is 10 years in the making, and whatever it is that you want to do, you can accomplish it. It's just going to take time. And I think that sometimes we kind of get wrapped up in things aren't working immediately, things aren't hitting the way I wanted to, and I think sometimes we have an idea of, man, I want to do this in order to be a millionaire for status. Like I want to do this in order to get to this level. But if you're doing it, you've already accomplished something that some people just aren't capable of. I think that it takes a lot to make that first initial step, and it takes even more to continue taking those steps. And it may not be 2 weeks. Well, it's definitely not going to be 2 weeks. It may not be 5 years, it may not even be 10 years, but whatever it is that you want to do, whatever is worth pursuing, it's going to take time, effort, and resources. And that's both encouragement and also a little bit of a caution. Like if you're going to do something, you got to make sure you're going to put your all into it because it's going to take a lot out of you. It's going to be a lot of sleepless nights, and the reward is not going to be there for a while. But when it does happen, it's beautiful, and in no way would I feel like we've made it. Like we're still getting there. You know what I mean? But the little victories that we've had along the way, I appreciate that, and definitely when you get those victories, don't brush them aside. Like take that, hold those dear, and use that as fuel and motivation to continue. Because if what you're doing resonates with you and it's resonating with other people, then you have an opportunity to change the world. And go do it.
Oh, it's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, well said. And it's all very important, straight facts. That's everything you said. Well, Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I'll be making sure to put all your information below so everyone can reach out, support. Please go support. To my audience, support this man. He's doing some awesome stuff. The detail, the quality, the humbleness, all of it is awesome. I really appreciate you watching. Stick around for another episode, and I'll catch you around. Peace. Later, Mike.